Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Linguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today, we've taken some trials and we have acquired mana. That's right, we played Trials of Mana, the third entry in the Seiken Densetsu series, otherwise known as Seiken Densetsu 3, if you're nasty. Joining me, as always, to discuss all things video games, Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, I'm glad we made it through these trials and tribulations. It's never easy when you're faced with adversity. As a reward, how would y'all like a very truncated list of things sharks are older than?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. As I said, very truncated list. I'm just going to give you the top two because they're the most exciting. Sharks older than trees.
Oh,
Also, sharks older than the rings of Saturn, most likely.
Whoa.
Yeah.
whoa. That's
So,
too much.
are sharks older than fire? Because fire is a recent-ish invention.
As
I mean,
a
they're definitely older
concept?
than like human
No.
fire.
There are very few planets that actually have fire on them. I learned about this. This is another fun fact for you. And it's because the high oxygen on Earth is good for fire production. And so because all the trees were building up, I don't know, let me check this.
I mean, the Earth was mostly water for a good long while.
That's true.
True.
So there would not have been a lot of things to be set on fire.
You would need oxygen, though, for the sharks, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so oxygen was there. I guess it depends on what you consider like a lightning strike. Like, would that count? I think it ignites the oxygen sometimes.
Okay, hold on.
Was there a lot of lightning?
Some of our earliest evidence for fire goes back 440 million years
Ooh.
to the Silurian period, when Earth's climate stabilized and plants and animals. Hold on, I have to actually click back into the. Yeah,
It's gonna
our
be
hominid
close.
ancestors first used natural wildfires to flush out prey and forage for food. Yeah,
So sharks have been around for approximately 400 million years.
whoa.
So there's, I mean, it's iffy.
They
You
are
know, I don't know how
slightly-
like precise.
Slightly younger than the concept of fire.
Yeah.
Dang. That other voice you heard is the mistress of games herself, M. Palladino. How you doing, M?
Hello. Now I'm looking at this article about when fire started. I'm doing well? Question mark.
Okay.
Glad you're
Okay.
excited.
At least it's not a no.
I've been very busy. Do you know that there is also invisible fire?
I did find that
Invisible
out
fire.
from the Discord,
Yeah.
which
In the Discord.
you'll learn about in a minute when we do the Discord report, listeners.
Yes. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Speaking of the plugs that lead into that, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and Deep Listens Podcast at gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens, which would get you access to our Discord. It would also allow you to put games into the Off the Deep End slush pile. It would allow you, perhaps in the future, to get access to perhaps an anime podcast that we might have that would be a Patreon exclusive. That's another thing you can look forward to. We haven't committed to what show it would be first, but look forward to that. Maybe a familiar voice from this show will be on that show. Who's to say? Who's to say, indeed? And if we get up to...
Is it me?
No, it's not you.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe it's you. You don't know, listener, do you?
Oh,
So
I don't even know if I'm on this show or not.
You don't. Even better. But yeah, we're floating around what that pilot would be and when it would be. but that's in the works. We also have merch stuff, some images of prototypes of merch in our in the Discord, so get in there. And if we hit 40 patrons, we're going to have to play Mass Effect Andromeda in the shared custody battle that is the Mass Effect series.
Oh, no. My
Yeah.
PlayStation's battery is broken.
Oh, no.
How am I going to play this game? That's not very good.
Yep, your PC's
I
broken
guess
too,
I'll
right?
have to... Oh, is it on computer?
I bet. Is
Probably at
it
this
on the
point.
computer?
Is it on my home personal computer?
Is it on the Macintosh?
Yeah. I've only had a Apple II for the last 20 years.
It's all I need.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that's a thing that we might need to do. So speaking of the Discord earlier, Em, why don't you let us in on what's going on the Discord report?
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. Okay, so I'm going to start with the invisible fire thing.
Please do.
So ZP posted this a couple days ago in our Fun Facts channel. There is a methanol fire that can happen. Apparently a lot to racers, because there's a video of the Indianapolis 500 from 1981, and it just looks like a bunch of race car drivers are jumping around looking concerned, and then someone sprays them with a fire extinguisher. But apparently methanol burns invisibly. So if you are on fire with methanol, it won't look like anything. You will just be burning.
You will
That is
feel the
horrifying.
burning. You will feel the burning,
You will
but
feel
no
it.
one will see it. And I don't think it
Yeah.
necessarily burns your clothes immediately either. Like, it will be on your
Yes.
clothes and catch fire, but will not penetrate.
Mhm.
So, or at least their clothes, because they're wearing heat-resistant
Yeah.
clothing. So yeah,
Yes.
the mention from that was thrown into the Discord because that scene from Talladega Nights where Will Ferrell is running around saying I'm on fire, just taking his clothes off. That is kind of what they are making fun of. Is those people who actually were
but
on
it's
fire
real.
and no one could see it.
Yes. This is also there's a, I don't know if it's a true story or if it's, just something going around on the internet. But there was a leak of some sort of invisibly burning gas in a NASA establishment. And in order to detect it, they just had to walk around with brooms in front of them. And if the broom started to burn, that's how you know there was fire in front of you. And you should not go that way. So who knows if that's true or not.
I'm just never
But-
going to leave my house again. Like, what
Yeah.
if everything's just on fire and I don't know?
Yes. Everything could be on fire. And you would have no way of knowing unless there is a broom in front of you.
This is the future liberals want.
Yep. Other than that, what's going on in Discord?
There's been a lot of
Did you-
posts about the Kendrick Lamar
yes,
Drake
that's what I was going to say.
beef.
Oof.
Have you looked into that at all?
It's getting grim.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
The 90s are back. They're so in right now. We got rapper
They're not-
beefs and then
They're
leading
not
to
back
shootings.
until someone gets shot.
Someone did get shot.
Someone did get shot. All right.
Who got shot?
The security guard, someone did a drive-by of Drake's house and shot his security guard who was just standing out front
Jesus.
at like 2 a.m.
That's messed up.
Well, I
You
mean,
didn't have to
you
do
know,
him dirty.
once Kendrick calls somebody a pedophile, all bets are off.
And then also posts a picture of his house as the cover art of his song.
Is that what he did?
Yeah.
He did.
Listen, I'm only following this tangentially, so
Well, yeah. So, I mean, the highlights: Kendrick accused Drake of being a pedophile. Post a picture of his house. Drake accused Kendrick of, I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, but of domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of exciting things happening in the world of rap music lately.
Yeah, and now a guy's in the hospital. So that's a bummer. It was funny, and then it was a bummer. And yeah, someone posted, I forget if it was this Discord or another Discord, someone posted a clip from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where someone's like, hey, we need to write a song that's like, don't diddle kids, we don't diddle kids. And they're like, this is what Drake is up to with his writing crew right now.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that, what was it? Who was it? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a brain-eating worm that got into his brain and then died? That was posted today on the Discord.
Is that why he's like he is?
It's unclear if that's the only reason.
Could have something to do with it.
It's unclear if that's the only reason. But I didn't see literal brainworms coming. You know?
Mhm.
I didn't think that he'd be living the joke.
Yeah, I should use that excuse, I think.
He's like Gallagher.
I have brainworms.
Yeah, why didn't I finish this game for the podcast? The brainworm.
Brainworms.
It ate my brain a little bit and then died.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But otherwise, I'm fine.
And then someone posted a power ranking of all of the worst things that Kennedys have gotten in their brains and put this very low on the list, which is...
Yeah, what? I mean, I can think of at least 2 off the top of my head that are worse.
Yeah.
As long as it's off the top of your head and not in it.
Yeah.
But
Yep. There's a lot. He's number 7. I'll put it that way in the leaderboard. But he is ahead of Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 4, who gets Las
Plagas. Yeah. Did we ever play that?
No, not yet. One day.
Resi 4? No.
Yeah, we've played 1, but we haven't played 4.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, I think those were most of the main ones. Basketball continues apace. Things are not looking good for my Nuggets right now.
They are not. I'm surprised.
I am too, but I did nail MVP. Jokic has officially won the MVP, so I'm happy about that. I will choose to gloat instead of feel sad. But we'll see. Yeah, so those I think are the main things going on in the Discord, which leads to my shout out of the week. And my shout out of the week is twofold. I saw 2 movies last weekend that I feel people should know about. The first one is The Fall Guy. Have you heard of this movie?
It's Ryan Reynolds, right?
No.
I saw the
I think of, what was the one he was like something guy.
That
is it The New Guy? No, it's...
No.
That's a different movie.
Oh, man, that is a Ryan Reynolds movie. It's the something guy. Dang it.
Yeah. Okay.
He's in a video game.
Yeah, look up the video game one so we get the name so it doesn't bug me the rest of the podcast. But the Fall Guy is Ryan Gosling. Different Ryan. He plays a stuntman for a very big actor who gets hurt, and then he has to come out of retirement at the last minute to be a stunt guy again. And then it turns out that maybe the guy he was stunting for got involved in crimes and drugs.
Oh.
And so he has to find the actor who's gone missing to save the movie.
So it's a double entendre.
Yes.
Fall Guy. He's a guy who falls, and he's the fall guy.
Yes. It's a very funny movie. It's very good. It's got a lot of practical effects and practical stunts. They do a lot of cool stunt stuff. And it was directed by a former stuntman.
By the way, is Free Guy.
Free Guy. That's it. Yeah, The Fall Guy, out now, just came out. Good movie. I would recommend it. It's a good popcorn flick, and I think it benefits from being seen in a theater. And the other movie I watched was the Amazon original film The Idea of You, starring Anne Hathaway, which I was told was a rom-com, and I'm here to tell you it is not. It is a drama. It is a drama. Is a romantic drama, is what I would call it. Because,
it's a May-September sort of deal. May-December.
Yeah. So Anne Hathaway, she's 40. It's not December. She is 40, and she starts dating a member of a 24-year-old member of a boy band that her daughter likes. And then, society doesn't like it. So yeah, it's a good movie. I came in expecting laughs, and the laughs stopped so early. I wasn't prepared for that, but it's a good movie. If you've got Amazon Prime, the idea of you, Anne Hathaway, dating a young British guy. Yeah, it's a good movie. All right, without further ado, let us discuss Seiken Densetsu 3, aka Trials of Mana. Pete, would you mind giving us a rundown of what this thing is?
Oh gosh, I can try. So, Trials of Mana is a game where you pick one of 6 main characters, and then you get 2 additional party characters. So your intro is a little bit different, right? Everybody's sort of going through their own individual trials. But basically what's going on is there are these monsters, benevodons, sealed in these mana stones, and evil people around the world are trying to drain the world of its mana power and release the benevodons for one of a series of nefarious reasons. I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and they are, in order to facilitate that, they are causing discord in the many nations of the world. And so
Discord.
Yeah.
The Discord part. Boop-a-doop.
Nailed it. And so when you pick your starting character, there are 6. Each of them are from a different nation, and they are all kind of drawn into the conflict by the different villains. So you've got Duran, who is a swordsman from the hero nation, basically. Angela, who is a witch from the mage nation. You've got Charlotte, who is a cleric from the holy city. You've got Kevin, who is a beast boy. He's a werewolf. And he is from the werewolf town. You've got Reese, who is a Amazon from the Amazonian castle. And then you've got Hawkeye, who's a thief from the thief village. And depending on who you pick, you get a different antagonist and actually a different story too. Like, you get a different antagonist, which means a different final dungeon, a few different story beats. And they all kind of have their own motivation for why they're going in here. So to do this game justice, we each picked different main characters because there are 3 different main antagonists with 2 protagonists sharing the same villain. So I picked Hawkeye, who is paired up with Reese in terms of the villain, and my villain was a mean lady, Belladonna. Pete, who did you have?
I picked Charlotte, and Charlotte's antagonist is this strange jester man, Garamond, and also an evil version of her friend, whose name slips my mind now, despite having listened to Charlotte scream it for hours and hours.
Heath.
Heath, thank you.
She loves Heath.
Oh, does she ever?
Yep. Oh boy, we'll go over Charlotte later. So Charlotte and Kevin, the Beast Boy, are linked at the hip. And then M, who did you play as?
I played as Angela. It was the witch. She is paired with Duran, I believe.
Yep.
Who is he's a warrior, I guess. And their enemy is what's his name?
The Crimson Wizard.
Yeah, I don't know if we know his name. He's just a guy in a red cloak who is working for her mother.
Yeah, there's the Crimson Wizard and the Draco Knight, I think. There's a Dark Knight who's also there. There's mm-hmm. 2 villains kind of for each of them. So like Gourmand and Punished Heath. There's Belladonna, and then there's a Dracula dude. If you go with Hawkeye, and Reese, and then I think we already went over Angela's pairing, Angela and Duran's. So yeah, there's 2 villains per, and then there's one big bad behind the villains. So we each also played different versions of this game. So I played the remake, which came out on the PS4 generation of consoles. Pete, which version did you play?
The Switch remaster, as I recall.
Yep.
Make what? Well, I guess it's a remaster, right? Sometimes I
Re-
can't keep the term straight.
Remake because it went from a 2D game to a 3D game.
Okay.
Yeah, if you had voice acting, it's the remake.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I had the original, the Super Nintendo version.
Excellent. So so the Super Nintendo version, how would you describe it? Because we're going to mostly talk about, I think, we can bounce back and forth, but how did you feel about that version of the game?
As far as playing it goes,
yeah, let's start there.
It definitely feels a little dated, but also it was of a time where, like, that was like a classic video game era. Came out in 1995. It sort of has the same aesthetic as like the old school Legend of Zeldas, like you would play on the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a top-down like action RPG. You're just sort of walking between screens. You're slashing at monsters. You're using menus to cast spells and such.
Does the game stop when you pull up the spell menu?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And are there any hotkeys? Can you hotkey spells?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, just making sure. And does it still handle items with a ring-based menu?
Yes. Yeah, there is a radial menu for your spells and also another one for your items. And you can only have a certain amount of items at a time. If you go over that amount, it's like 9 of each individual item. And then I think it's 9 items. It gets put into a storage system. And then you have to like go into that menu, take stuff out, move stuff around. It's a little finicky, which I don't think you had to deal with.
We did.
Yes?
We did have the ring menu, and it was constrained to like 9. And if you had more than 9 copies of an item, you only got to keep 9 of them. So that was. But outside of combat, you could use more than 9. If you had 60 something of like candy, which is your basic healing item, outside of combat, you can use as many as you want. Inside of combat, you only get access to 9. Which was nice. You also said that the characters, at least offline, you said that they have individual inventories. Is this true?
Yeah. So
what?
As far as like equipment goes, like you go into a shop and you talk to the shopkeeper as one of the characters, it will display like you can equip this item, and then in order to actually like give it to someone who can equip it, you either have to swap to them and then buy the item, or you have to do like a handoff, and it doesn't equip the items straight out of that menu. You have to go into your menu, like your actual, like where your inventory lives.
Yeah.
And then that's how you equip stuff. And you do that for each character, so you have to swap between them pretty much every time you buy anything.
That is very clunky. That is not how it works
It
in the
is.
remake.
Yeah.
The remake, it is a shared inventory. It's a shared like each of the ring menus is shared between all the characters. And then you can auto equip the items after you buy them. Because
here's a question.
Yes.
Can you cast spells from one character if you are on another character?
Yes, you can. You can right bumper, left bumper over to the other characters. You can command them to cast spells.
I fucking wish you could do that, because I was playing as Angela, who was a spellcaster, but if she died, I would automatically switch to another character. And then if I wanted her to cast any spells, she would just swing her stick at stuff if I didn't command her to do stuff. So in order to cast any of the spells, I would have to be controlling her, and I would have to go into the menu and select it, and then she would just stand there and be casting for like 5 seconds before it actually cast anything. So it was
It sounds
very
clunky.
annoying. Yeah.
Can she auto cast? Can you set it so that the side
No.
characters auto cast?
No, you cannot.
Okay. Is there in the original game? Is there a like special attack system like beyond spells?
So there is like a regular attack if you press the like A button, I guess.
Mhm.
And then if you press the B button and hold it for a little bit, they do like a bigger version of that. And I
Yeah.
assume they get more of it at some point, but there's no like, I know there's an ability system in your version that I did not have.
Okay. Yeah. So Pete, do you
Yeah.
want to explain the special abilities or special attacks?
Yeah, I mean, so you get this percentage gauge, more or less, and it builds up as you. It's like a crystal collection,
Mm-hmm.
more or less.
You beat the crystals out of enemies,
Yeah,
and then you have to go pick them up.
You beat as you whack people.
What the
Crystals fly out of their heads. You can go around and pick them up until you get enough crystal units to fill up your gauge, at which point you can throw out your special technique. So, for example, Charlotte smacks her butt a few times and says, "Come get me," and then hits them a bunch. So very intimidating attacks all around.
Yeah.
They
So
didn't have any of that in my version.
okay, it costs. So there, it's like skill points, SP. You get up to. You start with like 200 as your max gauge, and the special attacks take 100 generally without any modifiers. And yeah, the first like the level 1 version of them is usually just jump at the enemy and hit them. Level 2 tends to be like an AoE sort of effect, and then level 3, which you can get in the end game, is a special animation. Like you hit them once, and then you go into a little cutscene where you mess the enemy up. And boy, I wish that when the enemy was locked into the animation, the other characters took advantage of it, because they are allowed to move around, but the character you're controlling is not. So yeah, but they don't. So that system does not exist at all in your game. Are there passives in your game? Passive abilities.
What? No. What the fuck?
Okay. When you level up in your game, do you get to put a point into a stat?
Yes, there are stats. There's
Okay.
like strength, dexterity. It's like the usual D&D thing.
Okay. But if you put points into those stats, nothing fancy happens?
No.
Okay. In our version of the game, Pete, what happens when you put points into stats?
I mean, you get abilities eventually.
Yeah, it unlocks like stat boosts sometimes, like big lump stat boosts, like +5 to strength instead of just the normal +1 you put into it. You can unlock. This is also how you unlock the spells for Angela. Like they don't unlock just by leveling. You have to put points into. Angela actually has all of her spells spread out across each of the different stats, which makes her kind of want to become a jack of all trades in terms of stat placement. And then you also can get passive abilities that you can equip. At first you can equip only 2. Then when you unlock your second class, you can unlock 4 of them. And then when you unlock your third class, you can equip 6 at a time. And they can do things like Hawkeye can get a passive poison that he does when he hits enemies with his power. I think it's his power attack. Like he's got a 30% chance to poison enemies. He can get a 30% damage boost when he hits enemies with poison that are afflicted with a status effect. So you want to poison them, and then you get bonuses for hitting them. You can increase the drop rate. You can increase your experience gain. There's a ton of stuff that you can do. And some of those abilities are unique to a character, and some of them, once a character unlocks it, it can be used by anyone. Which sometimes, you unlock a power with Charlotte, and you can give that power to someone else. Yeah, so that didn't exist?
No. None of that existed, as far as I could tell anyway.
You also
That's
get
some bullshit.
there's like general sort of team-wide abilities you get too from talking to people or completing stuff that anyone can equip. Generally, they're not great, but some are okay.
Some are okay. Yeah, you talk to story critical people and they will unlock a class ability that anyone can use. Yeah, and in New Game Plus, you can carry those over, and your main characters give you those abilities. So you can just like make your New Game Plus super broken. Okay, so none of those happens. In your version of the game, did the characters have meaningfully different attack ranges or animations?
Not meaningfully. I think Kevin does like 2 hits when he swings. As far as different attack ranges, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so it's not like Reese with her spear hits, from farther away or something.
No, not at least in her base form that I could see.
Okay. Pete, did you find that in our version, like the characters much mattered in terms of whether they could hit or not? I think
Like
one character does, but
in terms of just attack range.
yeah, attack range and like ability.
Yeah, Reese is about the only one whose melee attack seemed to me had like a noticeable difference. Like Kevin obviously needs to, he's a puncher. He gets up and personal, but it's not like Charlotte's mace was like hitting across the screen or anything.
No, the only thing I noticed was that because Charlotte is half the size of all the other characters, her range was a little bit less. That she had to be a lot closer. It wasn't like, oh no, this game's broken because Charlotte has to be closer. It wasn't like that noticeable, but it seemed like the sort of thing that in a 2D version of the game, maybe they would have played with. Okay, good to know that they did not mess around with that too much. Did you have a combo system in your version of the game?
No.
So if you went light, light, heavy, it didn't do anything special?
No, it did not.
Okay.
Man, what did you have, Em? Is this even a game?
I guess nothing. I mean, let's see. There were these little crystals under my health bar. That was like, if you could do your big attack. I don't know if that is a combo. It didn't explain what those were at any point in the game. I just knew I could do a heavy attack if I had all of them.
Okay, but it was just hitting B. It wasn't like a special animation or something. It was just the charge up attack.
Yeah.
Okay, you can just do that all the time in this version of the game. You can just hold, and some enemies will have shields that you need to break with the heavy attack, so they give you a reason to use it.
Oh.
But yeah, they also give you, if you go light, light, heavy, you'll do kind of an AoE attack. And then as you class up, you get access to bigger and bigger combos. So like at my second class when I was Hawkeye, if I went light, 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 heavy, he kind of did a 2-handed dashing slash. And then his final one, which was light, 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 heavy. It's all like, hit the light button a few times. He did like a 4-hit combo, like 4-hit special attack. So there was a reason to not just spam light attack all the time. Sounds like that was not the case for you.
Doesn't appear as though that is the case.
Okay.
I could check some guides to see if they mention any of this.
Can you jump?
No.
Okay. Well, there's aerial combat in this game too because it's 3D.
What the fuck?
It's like
what did I play? It's a completely different game.
The closest analog for the combat. I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody that making this comparison. It's basically Kingdom Hearts.
That's what I figured.
In the 3D one.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda. Yeah, there's less mobility options than Kingdom Hearts, but yeah, that's a good. It's got the radial menu. You can like hotkey some of the moves so that you don't have to open up the radial menu every time.
Yeah, you got your 2 partners that you give general directions to. Although big difference in this one is you can switch between them, which you can't suddenly like beat Goofy in Kingdom Hearts.
Man, if you could.
I'm always being goofy.
In your version of the game, M, did enemies like show you where their special attacks were going to land, so you could dodge them?
Huh? What?
So if an enemy was going to throw something at you, did they give you any warning?
big red stripes, big red circles,
Oh, you got the AoE markers.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, we didn't have any of that. You see, in my version of the game, when something was going to attack you, like let's say the first boss, it's a big crab.
Mm-hmm.
That thing will just stop time, and then it'll display its attack name. So it will say I beam, and then beams will hit your character automatically. And you get no choice in the matter. You cannot dodge it. If you get further away, it will still hit you. It blows bubbles at you at some point. It has some poison breath. But all of those just hit you. There are a few attacks that it does that do not automatically hit you, but most of them, time stops, attack hits, you take damage, you heal that damage. There is no way to avoid damage in the Super Nintendo version.
Okay, so it is much more of an RPG than an action RPG. Like, there's a
Yes.
lot more just, hey, time freezes, get effed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, in our version of the game, there are AoE markers, and usually it kind of, like, the marker will slowly fill in, and when it fills in, the attack comes at you.
God damn it.
And you can get out of the way.
I would have been so good at that. You know what that is? That's Final Fantasy XIV combat.
Yeah, it does that, and occasionally, instead of the AoE, the enemy will spawn a thing that has health, and if you kill it before the AoE fills up, then the attack is canceled instead of just stepping out of the circle. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sounds like you didn't have quite as much depth to the combat. Did Angela cast giant spells that filled the whole screen?
So when Angela casts spells, what happens is she does her 5-second charge up, and then she casts the spell, and it either hits one enemy that you chose, or it hits all the enemies on the screen, which is usually 3. So
Okay.
I guess they are big spells, but it's not different from the regular spells. It's just a matter of how many you are targeting at the time.
Okay, because in our version, Angela's spells are AoE. So, as she classes, at first she just hits one enemy, and then you can level the spell up, and then it becomes an AoE attack. And then as she levels up, the AoEs get bigger and bigger. So eventually she just basically can hit everything all at once, which is cool.
It seems as though her spells in the Super Nintendo are just hit everything on the screen, and it does not ever increase or decrease.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do other characters get spells or abilities?
I only had Angela, I had Reese, and I had Kevin, both of whom are not spellcasters.
So they didn't even get any sort of passive spells or anything like that?
No. Nope.
Okay. Yeah, in our version, most of the characters got something. Maybe it's a buff, maybe it's a debuff, maybe it's the crappy damage attack, but most characters ended up with some sort of way to cast a spell. So the MP mattered, because everyone has... Oh, do you have MP in your game?
Yes, everyone has MP, but only matters for Angela.
Yep. Sick. All right, well, it sounds like these are fairly different experiences. Oh, in terms of just navigating, do you have a map?
No.
No. Okay. Are there just treasure chests out in the world?
No. The treasure chests that you find are dropped from enemies.
Do you have a tiny cactus that you have to follow around to different locations?
Named Lil Cactus.
What? No.
Okay. There's a little cactus named Lil Cactus, and you need to find him 50 times, and every 5 times you find him, he gives you a little bonus. Like you get sometimes you just get double experience from a battle for no reason, or like you get to
Aw.
see where all the treasure chests are on the map.
And he is just the cutest.
He is. He's a little guy.
So, no, none of that. You know how I saw the map? I'll tell you how I saw the map.
Please tell me.
There is sometimes you come across a little yellow thing. I don't even know what to call it. It doesn't look like anything really. Maybe like a Goomba from Mario. You go up to that little yellow thing and then you get sprung up off of it into the sky, and you like go way up, and you can see the immediate area around you, and then you fall back down.
Oh, that's what those are for in the old game.
What do they do in your game?
Platforming.
What?
They spring you up so that you can get to higher places.
Yeah, the only use they seem to have is for checking where you are, and only the immediate area.
Okay.
They are set in specific screens.
For me, for our version of the game, it seemed, I don't know, Pete, if you felt the same way. It seemed to be like those were relics of the old game. Like they were in the
Yeah.
game, but barely ever used.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
like
can't
a key
imagine
like
why.
component.
Mhm.
So, you said different screens. So are you just like walking to the edge of the screen and then it mouses
Yes.
over to another screen? Is that how
Yeah.
it's working?
There's every like little area is its own screen. So sometimes it's like maybe it's like 2 screens next to each other and they're connected. You know, like walk across a path. So everything is like, old school Final Fantasy. Everything's discrete maps. And in order to actually get a treasure chest, you have to kill everything on the screen. And it only drops sometimes. And is there a roulette on the treasure chest?
No.
A roulette, like a roulette wheel?
Yes.
Oh.
No.
God fucking damn it.
They're
Oh
just
my
treasure
God.
chests. And sometimes the enemies just drop items.
Okay, so in my version of the game,
Oh no.
sometimes a treasure chest will drop and a roulette wheel will open up. And depending on your luck, there will be certain things on the roulette wheel. Some of the spots are safe. Others will fire arrows at you. Others will make spikes shoot up out of the ground on your characters. Others will make gas pour out of the that one's the worst because that one hits everyone in your party. The arrows just hit the one person that actually touched the chest.
What an idiot.
And then the last thing that usually happens is you can get a polter chest, which is a mimic basically that the chest turns into.
Yeah.
And then it will attack you.
We have mimics at least, You can be
But
mad
they're
about
specific.
that.
They're specific chests. It's always
Yeah.
the same chest that's a mimic. Did you have item seeds?
Yes.
Okay, so you did plant items in the
Yeah.
inns.
There's a little patch of dirt you can plant stuff in the inn rooms. It didn't make anything like out of the ordinary. Mostly I just got candy from it. But I hear that there are some very good items you need to do that mechanic to get.
Did you level up? Does it level up the more seeds you plant?
I only did it like 3 times. I cannot tell you.
Okay, because in our version, the more you plant, the more the pot levels up, and the higher the level the pot is, the better. The more often you get item seeds, and the better stuff it gives you. So, like at the end of the game, I was planting seeds and getting like the best weapons for each of my characters and the best armor for each of my characters. But yeah, that seemed like a mechanic that was too weird to have been dreamed up for the remake.
As far as the pot leveling up, I would have to check my various guides.
I see. Did you feel like you could navigate the game without a guide, at all?
Absolutely fucking not. There were many times where, okay, so there are times in the game where I would be wandering around like, I'm pretty sure I have to go this way, and I can see like there's a path here, but there's something in the way, and then I would wander around for like an hour because I'm like, it's definitely here. I know it's here. I posted about this in the Discord about the wind area.
Mm-hmm.
There is a like statue blocking your path. And then I look at the guide and it's like, okay, in order to progress from here, you need to go and do a whole side thing that I don't know how I would have known that this is the course of action I would need to take, unless the guide told me.
Yeah, you got to get the shrinking mallet so that
Yeah.
you can go and talk to a tiny little guy who's like, yeah,
Yes.
sneak in.
Yeah. You go get a mallet from the night market. You use it to shrink you. You talk to the little gnome man, and he's like, "Aha! I was the gnome you were looking for all along." Like, no shit, you were, idiot.
He's a
That guy's a real dick.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Just use the fucking wind spirit." I was like, I was literally right at the wind spirit. And then I walked all the way back, and then it was like, oh, the statue's gone now. Huh. I'm like, I'm gonna lose my shit. That was the most egregious, I think. But there were some pretty bad ones. Like, in order to, there's Bon Voyage, who has his cannon.
Von
Yeah.
Voyage.
Right. Sorry. Von Voyage. He has his cannon in his backyard, and he's setting it up. And he's like, "Oh, you can't use it yet. Come back later." And I wander around for another hour. I'm like, "How the fuck am I supposed to use this cannon? I know it's where I need to be." And the guide is like, "Go into this one house and talk to this woman who just says, 'Oh, I think that cannon is set up now.'"
Yep.
And then you go back and the cannon is set up.
Yeah, so in our version of the game, Pete, how do we overcome this wandering around and talking to random people?
I mean, for the most part, I'm just trying to sleep. I don't know if it works for Von Voyage's cannon or not.
No, it doesn't.
They put
then
little
I don't-
stars over the heads
Yes.
of everyone
Oh.
you need to talk to and
I'm
every
sorry,
place
I-
you need to go.
It didn't even occur to me that was like something I had to comment on.
Must be nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was wonderful.
They're like, here's the 4 people in this town you have to talk to move forward. And you have to talk to them still.
Yeah.
And they each say like a plot thing that's going to happen in the next 2 minutes. But yeah, you don't have to talk to all of them because the towns are pretty populated.
Yep. Sometimes you need to sleep in order to like make it nighttime.
Mm-hmm. That happens in the remake.
Yeah.
Too.
Yep. Sometimes you need it to be night for things to clear out, like when the beast people are in town and they're like trying to hint like, hey, they get like
stupid at night.
They get stupid at night. You should wait until night. Like, how do I make it night faster? That was the first time I was like, oh, okay, I gotta go to sleep.
Pay a guy so you can rest your mind.
Yeah, so every time I didn't know what to do, I just spent money on the inn.
Wait, hang on a sec. While we're on the subject of the inn, I think there's the most important question that we haven't asked yet.
Yes.
Does your innkeeper dance?
Yes.
Oh,
They
moves.
They do that.
The moves on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
the
his
innkeeper
brothers.
And the shopkeepers too. They're all doing the same dance.
Okay, good. Yep, they do that in the remake too.
Mm.
They do the little jig, and that's fun. I got a kick out of it every time I saw it.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. Not sure why they did that, but sure.
I think all of this is to say this is a surprise, even though you don't have every mechanic that was in the remake. This is a surprisingly deep SNES game.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like there's a lot going on. You've got menus upon menus. We didn't even say it because I don't know that you experienced it, but you could play 3-player co-op in the original Trials of Mana. Each of your 3 main characters could have been controlled by a different player, and then you could run around on the, you would get rid of the AI problems that
Yeah.
happen.
That would be helpful.
Because they seem like they're dumb as hell in your version of the game. Is this true?
I mean, they're not terribly smart. A lot of times you'll be in the entrance of a like room or something, and they will get stuck on the wall, like right next to the door, and then they'll just be swinging at enemies that are like 3 feet beyond that, and they cannot hit. And they will just keep doing that until something snaps them out of it, which is usually the enemy hitting them.
Yeah, in our version, they are smarter than that, but it is not. They're not geniuses. Like if there were overlapping, Pete, did you have the same problem with if there were a lot of AOE's on screen at once? They just didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, they just wouldn't dodge properly. They just generally wander into something else.
Yeah, it was just like, oh crap, I'm in an AOE, gotta get out of it. Oh no, I stepped into an even worse AOE, I'm dead now. Yeah, if there were 2 or 3 AOE's happening simultaneously, they would manage to like slip on a banana peel, fall down some stairs, and then get crushed by a falling anvil, and then die because they'd end up getting hit by all 3 after trying to dodge one. But yeah, it pretty impressive having multiple story paths, multiplayer. This ring menu system, like a radial menu in the SNES, was pretty high, innovative. I think that was not necessarily the way of handling menus. You've got all these different item systems. You've got magic systems. You've got elemental magics. So there was a lot going on. I'm kind of impressed. You could also enchant your weapons to hit for elemental damage. So it's not like nothing. Did you have status effects too, Em? I don't know if you had any characters who would have cared about them.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I feel like there is some status effects that I got at some point,
Poison
but
or sleep or
there is sleep sometimes. Like I've been put to sleep or I got silenced.
Okay. Yeah.
And the only indication of that is on the actual character on the screen. There's nothing like by the health bar or anything.
Yeah,
So
in our version, it showed it on the health bar and on the character model, so you had it in 2 places. But yeah, they had a series of different status effects, so pretty complex, pretty impressive. So now why don't we turn our attention to the characters themselves? Who did we enjoy playing as? Who bothered us? And we'll save who bothered us for last because we all would agree.
Yeah.
Who did you enjoy?
So my squad was Charlotte, Kevin, and Angela. And Kevin and Angela are both legit. Kevin's cool because he gets his werewolf boost and he punches things. I'm always down to punch things. And Angela just over time, like towards the end, just becomes a magic nuke, which, I mean, you just start flashing out spells, which is always cool. The big issue with Angela, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who noticed, is her outfits. So apparently, the strength of Angela's magic scales inversely to the amount of clothing she has. So at a certain point, you just end up in a metal bikini, which, let's not do that anymore.
It was the 90s.
No, it wasn't.
But they were
this was remade in the 2010s.
They're like, for the remake, we got to stay authentic. We're going to change literally everything about the gameplay, but God help you if you touch Angela's metal bikinis.
Yeah, that's exactly how the video game industry works.
Well, at least the wiki says she's 19, so that's good.
So we're good. Yeah, we're fine then.
That's preferable to what I thought her age was supposed to be. But yeah, her outfit. All of the characters, like eventually when you get to classing them up, from their base class to later classes, they all, if you go down the dark path, they tend to end up less clothed, and if you go down the light path, they tend to end up more clothed, for the most part. M, who did you enjoy or not enjoy? Was it just Angela because Angela had magic and no one else did?
I mean, my party was Angela, Kevin, and Reese. Which Kevin and Reese at that point in the game were basically interchangeable, and Angela had magic because Reese's spear didn't actually give her any distance advantage that I could tell. And so, yeah, I mean, Reese is okay. I mean, she has some interesting stuff when you actually do her little story moments. But for the most part, she's just actually she does have some very good whenever you come across someone who's like an idiot, basically, she will threaten them and pull her spear out, and then Angela will stop her most of the time. And I don't know if that is the case for any character that talks to let's say that little gnome guy I mentioned earlier, who is basically fucking with you.
Charlotte gets pretty annoyed.
Yeah. Okay. But I liked that. And it was always Reese for some reason that I was on when I talked to those characters. She also doesn't like slavers, and she gets mad at them too.
There are slavers in your game?
I mean, in the night market, there's a guy who's like,
right.
He says something like, I had a kid, but I sold him. And she was like, that could have been my brother, and takes her spear out. And that's basically the only instance of it.
Okay, I'll have to go back and try that in the night market, because that still exists in the night market, but I did not have Reese when I talked to that person the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, Hawkeye was pretty good. Angela was my favorite just because she had access to good magic. Hawkeye was pretty good, but he was just hitting hard, pretty generic in that way. Though he does eventually get elemental magic in the remake, which I thought was kind of cool. And you can spec him towards status effects. You can spec him towards damage, towards AoEs. So that was kind of cool. And then, yeah, I had Charlotte. So, Pete, what's wrong with Charlotte? Why do we not like her? She's the healer.
God, everything. So the two biggest issues with Charlotte are, one, I feel bad saying this because in real life, people talk with the way they talk, but Charlotte has a very unique way of speaking, such that all her all her R's become W's.
Mm-hmm.
And with the voice acting and, call it a loose 20 hours of gameplay, it gets really grating really quick and stays that way the entire time.
Pete, can you do your best Charlotte impression?
Oh, God. I'm trying to think of something she says. So when she smacks her butt, she basically says her version of, come at me, bro. That's that'd be, it's not a direct Charlotte quote, but it gets you the spirit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte also.
Chamwants.
Oh, man, the worst. That was better. Gino, your impression's better than mine. I'll be honest.
Now was our chams. She sounds so. Sometimes she sounds like she's doing baby talk, and sometimes she just sounds like she's from Long Island because they just do a find and replace of every R with a W, basically. And sometimes, if you want to have a human being say that, they don't sound like a baby, the way that you want.
No. The other issue with Charlotte is she's in the game. She looks like she's, I don't know, 6, 7. She's actually 15, and it's her elf physiology.
No.
Yep, it's her elf physiology that makes her appear so much younger.
Reese is 16. You're telling me those two are a year apart?
Kevin's the same age as Charlotte.
What?
Yeah.
That can't be true.
It's true. She's an ancient dragon that's sealed in the body of a childish girl.
Okay.
She's a half elf, M, so she is little.
Sure,
Kevin-
whatever.
Gonna anime.
Kevin's got his own talking thing going on too,
Oh, yeah.
where he like talks like a beast man. It's like weirdly
Yeah.
cadenced. Sometimes he like uses verbs in the wrong tense or stuff like that. His doesn't bother me as much, probably because I like him better.
Yeah. So each of the characters have their own motivations. I think Kevin's motivation is probably the least lowest stakes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
His dog died.
He was
I mean,
made to
sad.
kill his dog.
Yeah,
it's sad.
he killed his dog.
But like Angela almost gets sacrificed by her mom.
Yeah.
Or like
That's how Angela's story kicks off, and I'm like, damn. It's pretty high stakes so far.
Did either of you see Reese's beginning of her story?
Her
No.
father gets killed, and then her brother gets taken.
Yeah, so her castle gets sacked by the Thief Nation,
Mhm.
and they turn off their defenses. They blast sleeping spores into the castle that causes all the Amazons to come to fall asleep, and then the thieves show up and kill them, and then they kill her blind father and kidnap her brother.
Yep.
And then she is sent into exile so that she can live.
Man, hers is. She might have the heaviest one. Well, I guess Angela was almost killed by her mom. That's pretty
Yeah.
bad too.
Duran's like, he had to fight the Crimson Wizard and he didn't win, and he's mad about it. So he wants to go beat the Crimson Wizard. And Duran's is the funniest because they explicitly say, Duran, you cannot defeat the Crimson Wizard at Class 1. You need to get to Class 2. And he's like, I need to find Class 2. And you eventually go up to the priest, Charlotte's grandpa, and ask him, and Duran's like, how do I become Class 2? And he's like, you can't become, my child, you cannot become Class 2 yet. You lack the experience points. I hope it is, but I wish that we referred to this. Like, I wish that in my performance reports at work, like, my boss was like, I'm afraid you cannot become Class 4 yet. You lack the experience points to become Class 4. Do they say, like, the class stuff in your version of the game? There are multi-classes, right, in your version?
There are multi-classes?
Can you change from a base class to a secondary class? And do you get to pick?
There's, like, you pick by going to a stone, and then there's, like, light or dark. And then you get basically put on one side of a tree. And then the second time around, you get another light or dark split. So Angela starts as a magician, and then if she's light, she's a sorceress. Dark, she's a mysticist. And then sorceress becomes grand diviner or archmage. That might be I think that's the same across the versions. I'm looking at the wiki to get the names right.
In my version, you had to get some sort of question mark seeds that unlock class items, which I don't know if that happens in the old version of the game, but you had to farm them, and it sucked, and that's how you get Class 3. In the remake, they do just have some treasure chests that just have them in there.
Oh, that's nice.
And they're in the same place every time, so you can just beeline to those items if you want. As you unlock, so you're at first you're just running around collecting elementals. Your character is chosen by Fairy, who is this magical MacGuffin character who shows up and is like, we need to save, the mana is dying from the world. We need to save mana by getting a bunch of elementals and going to the Sanctuary of Mana, where there's this sweet sword that you need to pull, and then that's going to let the Goddess of Mana save the world. And so you have to, at first you're just going around to a bunch of dungeons getting elementals. Does getting an elemental unlock elemental magic for Angela in your version, or is it just leveling up?
It sort of does. You need to be a certain level in order to unlock the magic. So like when I first got the light elemental, I was a little bit too low in intelligence, and so I had to level up again. And then the next time around, That's when I actually got the spell.
Okay.
So sort of, it's like gated, I guess.
Okay, that is the case in our version of the game,
Okay.
except they're also passives. So you get the active abilities when you hit certain intelligence or whatever stat you need to thresholds, and then you need to also unlock the elemental. Otherwise, you don't get to use the spell. But you do get to see what stats unlock what spells.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
There was no indication that different stats had any bearing on what spells I got.
I'm sorry.
So maybe
Yeah.
I missed out on some.
Yeah, fire.
Who knows?
You get fire from strength. You get earth from stamina. You get light. Earth. Yeah, light from will, I think, and then ice from intelligence. Ice and water, I think, from intelligence, and then luck gives you wind magic
Yeah.
in the remake.
Huh.
So did any of the bosses or elementals jump out to you, Pete? Any that you want to call out?
I liked the three heads boss. That one was good. Actually, I did have a favorite elemental, and it's by far Lumina,
Mm.
who is just an incredible. I don't know who does the voice acting for Lumina, but the voice they picked, amazing. I loved it. So chipper, so enthusiastic. I was motivated when I picked
Hi
up Lumina.
guys.
Yeah.
How's it going? I'm Lumina.
And then I was like, how many more of these do I have to get? 7?
Oh.
I don't know about all that.
But at least Lumina's the first one. It's so encouraging. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, there's an illusion here. I'm gonna reveal it with my power of light.
Lumina is the best.
Yeah,
And the
Lumina's
worst
very good.
one is Forest.
You didn't like Dryad?
No, because she's got to be confident. Dryad, you're an elemental. You got kick-ass powers. You got to wield them.
I don't know if I can help you guys. I'm Dryad.
She's kept wiggling the whole time.
Yep. The names I found really funny, like Gnome, Dryad, Sylphid, or Djinn, depending on the version of the game. Shade. Some of these are a category of being in other games. Like Fairy. Fairy's a proper noun. It's not a type of thing. This is Fairy. My name is Fairy. Hello. But then some of them are like Salamando. That's the proper name right there. Salamando. Lumina. That's a proper name. But here's Gnome. He's a little beard dude.
It's Gnome.
Did the Elementals have character models in your version, Em?
They did, but they were not super animated. And they do a little talking, but there's no personality really to them.
Okay. Yeah, the voice actors impart a lot of the personality in our version.
Seems like it.
Though sometimes for the worst. I would say, to Pete, voice acting overall, positive or negative experience?
Oh man, I mean, are we including Charlotte in the calculation? If I could just drop her out, yeah, without her it would be a positive. But it's not an overwhelming enough positive to make up for how terrible Charlotte is.
There are some characters that are weirdly bad. It seems like poor voice direction, or maybe they just had worse recording equipment, or they just asked someone in the office if they'd be a voice actor. Some of the voice acting, very solid. Some of the voice acting, largely of shopkeepers or some of the side characters, every origin story has one or two people that the main character cares about. Some of those folks are not so great. Yeah, it's very patchy, very spotty. Who's good and who's bad at their job in the voice acting realm in this game. And I did look up from a story, there are some references to there's this Dragon King that was defeated previously, and that was the last time someone had a fairy and got the Mana Sword. And it would appear that the Seiken Densetsu games, the Mana games, though they have a similar setting and rules, they don't necessarily share a direct plot. There isn't a direct. This is not a direct sequel to Seiken Densetsu 2.
I just assumed the Dragon King was somebody else's final boss.
Yeah.
In the way that I had Garamond. That's not how it works?
He is the final boss for Duran and Angela. So he is. But it's not there's that hero King Richard.
Right.
And he's I defeated the Dragon King when Fairy came to me when I was young. And I was like, oh, is he the main character from Seiken Densetsu 2? And it appears no, that is not the
Okay.
case. But yeah, you basically just go around, you get all these elementals, and then they're like, psych, you open up a portal to the Sanctuary of Mana. It's been ransacked. You see all of the different villains, all three of the villains, come into conflict, and whichever villain your main character cares about, they win the struggle, and then they go ahead and they kidnap Fairy, and they take the Mana Sword from you, and then you have to go to the Mana Stones again, and defeat the Benevodons, which is a new set of bosses that are in slightly different areas of the same dungeons.
Okay, hold on.
Yes?
Do you have to do a whole bunch of stupid shit in between fighting the Benevodons? Or do you just go there and they're there?
You have
Now.
to fly. So you
Okay.
get the ability you get two ways to travel. First, you get the Lord of the Seas, who is maybe my favorite character in the game, character model wise. Pete, I don't know if you agree with me.
Which one?
The Lord of the Sea. The little
Oh,
like
yeah,
turtle
yeah,
man.
the kick-ass turtle you get to ride around on with the sweet goggles.
Yeah, he's got goggles,
Oh,
a
he's the
little
best.
flag on his shell, and then he's got little flippers
He's
on
the
his feet.
best.
That is also in the original, even with the goggles.
That's great. So he's great, and then you eventually get a dragon who flies you around. And so you just basically fly to the dungeon, and then once you get in there, there's usually like a side path that was locked before that's now open, and you just go down that side path, and you have to, it's shorter usually than the main dungeon was, but you do have to track through it. And some of the dungeons are not like ones you arrived at originally. So some of them are bespoke areas that are only there for the Benevodons.
Right. I'm fine with doing like a walkthrough again. It's having to do like the fetch quests in between
No.
that I would like. That was the grating part of the first bit.
No, you don't have to do the fetch quests again. You can just go straight to the bosses, basically. You can beeline to them.
God.
Can you run away from battles in your version?
You can, well, I guess if you like get to the other side of the screen, like it's not really running away so much as you just leave the area.
Okay. Yeah, in our version, there's an invisible circle where the encounters happen, and if you get to the edge, you can run away, and then the enemies will stop attacking you.
Now, if there are enemies on the screen, you're in your like battle stance, which is slower to move, and also, yeah, no, you just are stuck in combat if there are enemies around.
Okay.
But you can just walk away, basically. There's
Nice.
nothing keeping you on the map.
Pete, did you actually unlock Class 3?
No. I'm trying to think. Oh, where you get like the actual like their final stage, their final
Yeah.
evolution, as it were. No.
You get their seeds, and okay. Yeah, I went to the trouble of getting them for all of my main characters in my first playthrough. I started a New Game Plus, and I haven't gotten to that point yet, but yeah, it's more of a pain than it should be, I feel like. And yeah, so for me, the final boss and their motivation was the Dark One, I think is what they called him. Or the Dark Lord is what he was called. He was like a kid who was prophesied to like destroy his country, and so his parents locked him in a cage in a dungeon when he was young, and that made him super mad. So he was motivated to destroy his country, and then does it, and it's like, dang, we fulfilled our prophecy by treating our son bad. And then the lady who's helping him out is like, I just wanted to see him smile. And yeah, his plan is to possess Reese's brother and live as a god amongst men. That's his plan. And he's from Mavolia, the underworld, basically.
That's close to. So mine was Heath's dad.
Oh.
So Heath's dad was like a priest, along with the priest of light, Charlotte's grandfather. And then somebody died. I think it was like a little girl. They couldn't save her life. So Heath's dad turned to the forces of darkness to try to bring her back to life, which I mean, never goes wrong, really. That's a solid plan on his dad's part. And he's ultimately corrupted by the forces of darkness. Yep.
Can't
Who
believe
would have
it.
thought, you know? So he was trying to absorb the mana sword. So, and Gino, get this, he could live as a god amongst men.
Whoa.
And he
Dang.
also had horrible face scars, but I forget how he got them.
Did they ever explain why Gormand, the creepy jester, is there? Like, what's his deal?
No, he just likes eating souls. You know, he was born a jerk, he lived a jerk, and he died a jerk.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, for mine, there's the weird Dracula, and I was like, "What are you doing here, weird Dracula?" And he's like, "I'm from Mavolia." I'm like, "Okay, sure, why not?"
Not weird Dracula.
I'm here to kidnap people and suck blood, and I'm all out of blood. Yeah, so yeah, he kidnapped. I think he kidnapped someone. He's weird. They needed two bosses. Did you get to see what was going on with Crimson Wizard?
I know he works for the Dragon Lord, right?
Yeah.
He was going to become the most powerful wizard ever.
You don't say.
Yeah. And apparently when you beat him, he loses his will to live and commits suicide.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
Which is news to me, Wiki. Spoilers, I guess. And the main enemy is the Dragon Lord, who just is a dragon and wants to blow the world up. It literally just says his intent is to transform the world into a world of utter chaos with him standing above all. So,
Damn, everybody wants to live as gods amongst men.
yeah.
They do. And it's worth saying you get different bosses because you get these different antagonists. So it's a different fight. And it's a different final dungeon, too. And you can, see the other final dungeons on the map, but they are locked. There's nothing to do at them because the final boss isn't there. Because they were the other final bosses were thwarted. And then after you defeat the final boss, Theory dies because mana has run out. But she comes back and then is reborn as the goddess. No, the goddess of mana dies, and then Fairy gets reborn as the goddess of mana as a new tree, because the goddess is the tree, and the tree is the goddess. Yeah. So in the remake, there's also I guess, final chapter that you can do that kind of foreshadows Seiken Densetsu 4. So you can find a book, and it unlocks the ability to get class 4.
Ooh.
Class 4.
But what do you need class 4 for?
To defeat the bonus final boss.
Okay.
That they give you. And to unlock class 4, each character has their own little plot dungeon that they have to go to. Like Hawkeye, his buddy gets killed at the beginning of the game, and in order to get to the end game, you have to save his love interest, and his love interest basically takes over his town in the end game. And she's like, "Oh man, my brother hid all of our money because he saw that my father was being corrupted by an evil lady. Can you find all of our money? Because we're so broke right now." And yeah, you have to go to a dungeon, and then you fight another boss, and then you find the gems and the ability to unlock class 4. Angela has to fight herself to prove that she's the greatest wizard. Charlotte, what was her deal? She had to fight some bosses that had a stone that was the stone that allowed her parents to get married, because her mom was an elf and her dad, I think, was a human. So her mom each of them gave up half of their lifespans so that they could be together.
Damn.
And
That's deep.
And you get the stone so that you can get class 4. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, the book that tells you about this is you require the power of class 4. The 4th class is the only way to defeat the evil witch. It's dang, I guess I better get class 4 then. But yeah, you don't have to do it. It basically just sets up who the villain is of the next game. And I just kind of sprinted through. They did a whole bunch of bespoke dungeons that were just kind of retreads of old dungeons. And so I just ran past a lot of enemies, and Angela could nuke the final boss to death, so it didn't really matter. Pete, would you recommend this game as someone who came in blind? Like, would you play this again, or
Would I recommend
tell
it?
someone else? Yeah,
It's not bad. Like it's a cromulent game,
Cromulent.
but yeah, I know. I was pretty proud of that one. I could have used a different word, but I picked cromulent. It's a cromulent game, but the issue is there are so many better JRPGs in the world. Like, for all its faults, and there are many, I do think Kingdom Hearts does this better. Like, if you really wanted this squatted up live combat, you could play Kingdom Hearts. If you just wanted like a JRPG, like, I would recommend like Blue Dragon or any number of turn-based ones over this. I wouldn't recommend Final Fantasy just because I'm a hater. I'm sure there are good ones of those too.
that's fine. Would you recommend going back to the original game?
I mean, for nostalgia's sake, it's not bad. Hearing about all of the updates they've done to it, no. Play the remake. It sounds much better. There are a lot of quality of life things that I think I would have benefited from. And
Your life would have had a better quality.
yes, exactly. Yeah. I don't think there's a case to be made that the Super Nintendo version is better than the remake. So take that what you will.
Unless you want to play it co-op. Because there's no
Unless you want to play
in
co-op.
the remake.
If you want to play co-op, you should probably play something else.
Excellent. Well, I think that's it for Trials of Mana. Anything that we didn't cover that y'all want to cover?
I don't think so.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know? Cromulent was first used in the Simpsons in 1990s.
I did not.
That is where it originates from, according to Google.
The Simpsons?
The Simpsons.
I don't know if I believe Google, but I'll take their word for it.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Yeah, there were a lot of fun facts this episode.
There were.
People learned a lot.
Yeah.
Some of it about this game, even.
Yeah.
It is your turn once again to pick.
Oh, boy.
Now that our basketball debt is paid.
At least the debt is paid.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been bouncing around between a whole bunch of games. And the next words out of my mouth are going to be a game. It's going to be the game that we're going to play. I want to
Tension
play.
is rising.
I'm trying to
This
remember.
is how you do this, Pete. This is how you set it up.
Yeah, this is elegant. This is pageantry.
Trying to remember all the games that were on my list.
This is how pros do it, folks.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me open up my short list, make sure I didn't forget anything. We are going to play Hades 2.
Ooh. The
Okay.
second Hades?
Hades 2 is out now. Pretty sure. Let me make
Early
sure.
access it is.
Let me make sure. Hold on.
It's out on early access.
Does that mean we can play it?
We could play it, but it might change someday.
Okay.
We've done this before. This is how we played, what was that game that we didn't like, but then turned into a very good game? Something Souls.
Dark Souls?
Not Dark Souls.
Not Dark
that
Souls.
one. That
Oh,
wasn't
man,
the one.
I could have picked a Dark Souls.
Don't do that.
That would have been funny.
I thought it was something Souls.
Funny?
It was a 2D scroller roguelike
Titan?
thing.
No. Not Titan Souls.
No, not Titan Souls. I'm going to find it. I will remember. I thought it
Is
was
this
Souls.
Is this the first time in Deep Listen's history where we have played both the first and second game in a series?
Maybe.
We
we
played
never
Mass
did-
Effect 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Did we? Because we never did Portal 1. I remember doing Portal 2.
Yeah, we've done Mass Effect 1 and 2, but we have not. We've not done 3 yet. That's still pending. So Hades 2, you're locking it in, Em?
I think so. I mean, I like the first one, and I'm sure I'll like the second one.
We did
It's
too.
Hades, but it's got a lady. That's my
That's your
my
pitch.
selling point. Yeah.
Excellent. So next time we are playing the early access version of Hades 2. If you find that podcast several years later and the game is just completely different, not our fault. That happens. It's a thing that happens. So next up, Hades 2. All right.
Yay.
Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at deeplistenspod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, always a pleasure to talk games with you.
Thank you, M.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for not rubbing it in that my version of the game was so much worse.
I mean, it's partially because I didn't realize. I was just asking questions, and I was like, maybe this will turn out that this game has... I'm a mate. Nope.
Nope.
All right, well, till next time. Peace. I can't... What the fuck is this game? I'm scrolling. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell this game was. It's not Souls. It's... What is... We played it. It was a 2D side-scroller. It was a roguelike...
A roguelike 2D
side-scroller, and it was like a Souls-like, kind of.
It
was very animation priority.
Was it Rogue Legacy?
No, it was not Rogue Legacy. I would remember that one. What is the name of this game?
Did I play it, or did Billy
Pete
play it?
No, Billy picked it a while ago.
Well, you gotta figure this out before we leave.
Okay, I've now applied a filter to my game library, so it is just action. It is not Darksiders. It is Dead Cells.
That wasn't even close to a Souls.
Cells instead of Souls.
Okay.
Dead Cells. That's it. We played it in early access, and
this does look like a Billy game.
Yeah, it was a Billy game, and it was in early access, and then people told me like 2 years later, like, "Oh, Dead Cells is completely different than what you played." I'm like, "Well, we didn't play that. Sorry, it was not that when we played it." Apparently, it's got Castlevania in it now. What the hell?
Wait, like Castlevania's like in it? Like you can play
Dead
Castlevania
Cells,
in the game?
Dead Cells Return to Castlevania DLC.
Oh.
They got that their Konami license. Oh, you can fight Death? Perhaps you've heard of him, Death, or Dracula. Oh, that's kind of cool.